Okay, so I decided to start a mini series on Moedim, which we went over a couple of weeks ago, I think. And Moedim is a Hebrew word for time appointed and or appointed time. This is actually the same word that you see in Genesis chapter 1, I think verse 14, where it describes a season and the time and all that. So that time actually is Moedim. It points to a specific appointed time that God has set aside for us in relation to his plan for humanity, the key time points. So I'm trying to you guys know me, I've been trying to figure out the times, right? And I don't know why, but I'm just preoccupied with this these days. I've never been actually. I never really was interested in that so much. In the past year and a half that I've been with you guys, somehow this has been on the forefront of my teachings and my studies. And I don't know why, but it is what it is. So I came across another Moedim in Book of Numbers. Okay, Book of Numbers, chapter 3, and let's get to it. And I went over this last time too, but I really I'm really trying to drive home the message that whatever is in the Old Testament is actually about Christ, and you guys know that. But I just like this verse. This is what Jesus actually said right before he ascended. He said to his disciples, "These are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Then open he their understanding, that they might understand the scriptures." So these apparently to some boring passages in the Old Testament are not really boring when you think about what it's supposed to represent. It's about him, it's about Jesus, it's about the Messiah. And we can only understand it if he opens up our understanding of it. Because what happened here is that Jesus actually taught the disciples after resurrection for 40 days, and he showed them line by line all the things and all the teachings that he's been showing. He was just showing them, hey, just like what I'm trying to do here is as I go through the Old Testament, I'm unfolding, I'm kind of deciphering all this stuff. Well, Jesus did that much better, of course, with his disciples, but then that wasn't enough. So he had to open up their understanding. So just sharing with you, me sharing with you these things is not enough. You have to ask for understanding, and so that you may understand this. And I'm not claiming that I understand either. I feel like I'm just touching like a little piece of it, like less than 0.1% kind of a deal. I feel like I'm only grasping a little piece of it, but somehow God is leading me into keep at it. He's giving me these Moedims over and over. I don't know why, but so we're gonna go over chapter 3, a book of Numbers, and it's about this redemption money. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but a lot of people are not. There's a peculiar passage in Book of Numbers, chapter 3. And if you have your scriptures open, please follow along with me because I got a lot of notations here. Okay. And so Book of Numbers, as you know, it's got a lot of numbers in there. The setting is as we have studied some time ago, the setting is that the Israelites they just escaped from Egypt through led by Moses, and the Pharaoh let him go reluctantly, and then they went through the Red Sea, and they arrived at Mount Sinai, and Moses up in Mount Sinai, receiving the commandments of God, not just 10 commandments, but commandments of God, hundreds and hundreds of commandments of God that lays out the civil laws, the criminal law, even the dietary laws, the all kinds of laws, right? So and we looked at some of those, but and then the rituals and how they're supposed to carry out worshiping the Lord through the tabernacle, tent of meetings and stuff. And one of the things that God commands Moses to do early on is because these are like 3 million people, right? These are 3 million people and 3 to 5 million. They're only counting the minimum is about 3 million people. It could go up to like 5 million too. But let's say, for the sake of argument, the lower end, like 3 million people there. And imagine 3 million people just walking randomly in the desert for 40 years. It's going to be so chaotic. So God commands Moses, hey, you guys have to be orderly here. Because then if you're not, it's going to be so chaotic and all kinds of bad things are going to happen. So I'm going to give you some guideline as to how to carry yourself in the desert, how you're supposed to go in procession, which order you got to go whenever I lift up the cloud and a pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night, and don't go anywhere without the leading of the cloud or the fire. And when you go by this method, by the certain tribes first, the tribe of Judah on the east side first, and then all these groupings according to the cardinal directions. I'm getting to this. And just giving a background here for those that are watching online that may not be familiar with the story. So then this arrangement is a very sacred arrangement. It mirrors what's in heaven, the throne room of God, the four living creatures, and even a formation of a cross. And whenever they camped out for the night, every night they camped out, they were in a formation of a cross according to the tribes. It's just an incredible thing to read. But in order to do that, Moses had to first take a census of everybody. They have to count everybody first, so that they know how to organize themselves. So there are 12 tribes officially, but there are really 13 tribes, right? It's because Joseph, who went down to Egypt, had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, who later were counted as 2 tribes instead of 1 Joseph. And God did this on purpose so that he could set aside a priestly tribe of Levi, or the Levites, son of Jacob, or Israel, one of the sons, being Levi, and the descendants coming out of Levi was Levites, and they were set apart to be a priestly tribe to carry the tabernacle in through the desert for 40 years, and even beyond, up until now. Actually, even the priestly tribes are responsible for the coming third temple services and stuff that they're planning on doing. And the last name with the Cohens are supposed to be the priestly tribe. So they were descendants of the Levites, and the Cohens were a derivation of the Kohathites when you read that in the Old Testament. So anyways, so God told them to set aside the priestly tribe, Levi, which leaves 11 tribes, because you took away one of the tribes. So then, because there was an extra tribe, because of 2 sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, they fulfilled that 12th tribe mandate. So this is like a picture of what happened with the disciples, because the history in the Bible repeats itself. Yes. Human history is a cycle. Mm-hmm. The Moedim, the time appointed time repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. So God has orchestrated a history of our world into a repetitive pattern. One of them has to do with the disciples, because the disciples there were 12 of them, and one of them, we know, betrayed Jesus, Judas Iscariot, who committed suicide after betraying him. And so they left a vacuum of the 12th disciple. So then they, through Lot, filled that position with another disciple, making it 12. And then later, Apostle Paul became another disciple. So there are really 13 disciples at the end, which mirrors what happened with the original Israelites, the tribe of Israel. So this is actually also, you can see this also in Book of Revelation with the ephah stones. The stones at the end of Book of Revelation in the ephah, description of it is slightly different than the one in the original ephah stones of the priestly garments, and that has to do with this event of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, and all that we just talked about. So okay, so let's get to this. So Moses is about to count the Levites. Okay, I said all of that so that we could get to here. Okay, so let's read this. Book of Numbers, chapter 3, 39. All that were numbered of the Levites, the priestly tribe, which Moses and Aaron numbered at the commandment of the Lord throughout their families, all the males 22,000 or 22,000 from a month old and upward were. Okay, that's interesting, huh? And the Lord said unto Moses, number all the firstborn. Can you read that again in your scripture? 39.
39 reads, all that were numbered of the Levites, which Moses and Aaron numbered at the commandment of the Lord throughout their families, all the males from a month old and upward were 22,000.
Okay.
So that's how many he counted.
All right. So, okay, let's go on.
And
verse 40.
And the Lord said unto Moses, number all the firstborn of the males of the children of Israel from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names.
Okay, so exactly it's mirroring. Okay, so we got two groups counting. One is the Levites, they're 22,000 a month upward, and then the firstborn of all the tribes of Israel, a month old upward again. Go on.
And thou shalt take the Levites from me, I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of all the firstlings among the cattle of the children of Israel.
Go on, please.
And Moses numbered, as the Lord commanded him, all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and all the firstborn males by the number of names, from a month old and upward, of those that were numbered of them were 22,213.
Which in plain modern language is 22,273.
Okay. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle. And the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. And for those that are to be redeemed of the 213 of the firstborn of the children of Israel,
or 273,
which are more than the Levites.
So there are 273 more firstborn among all the Israelites than the Levites.
Right.
Because the firstborns were 22,273, and the Levites were 22,000. So if you subtract that, the firstborn among all the Israelites, they had 273 more people.
Right. Thou shalt even take 5 shekels apiece by the pole. After the shekel of the sanctuary shalt thou take them. The shekel is 20 gerahs. And thou shalt give the money wherewith the odd number of them is to be redeemed unto Aaron and to his sons. And Moses took the redemption money of them that were over and above them that were redeemed by the Levites. Of the firstborn of the children of Israel took he the money, 1,365 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. And Moses gave the money of them that were redeemed unto Aaron and to his sons, according to the word of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Excuse me. Can't shut this off. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for reading that.
Okay.
So what's happening here, as we were talking, is that so God commands Moses to take the 22,000 of the Levites and count the firstborn also, which of all the Israelites, 22,273, and he calls the Levites his, they're mine.
Yes.
And then he says, I am the Lord.
Mhm.
You know, incidentally, he says, I am the Lord 3 times in this chapter. There's another one up in Numbers 3. I find it interesting that it's a chapter 3, and there's 3 references to God's name, Jehovah, which represents the Trinity, I think. And so he says that when there's something really important, he wants to emphasize, I'm the Lord. Okay, remember this, because the Levites are mine. These are mine. These guys are mine, you know? And again here, thou shalt take the Levites for me. You take the Levites, I am the Lord. It's there, he's emphasizing this, okay? And then he says, take these Levites instead of the firstborn. You're supposed to take the Levites instead of the firstborn. I find that very interesting. Instead, who did that for us? Who died for us, redeemed us, and died for us instead of us being paying for our sins. So this is a picture of Jesus paying the price instead of us, and there's a reference to the firstborn too, right? So the firstborn represents Jesus, just like the firstborns of Israel were saved when they were coming out of Egypt because of the blood of the lamb on the doorpost during the Passover time. So with the blood, the firstborns are saved. So through the blood of Christ, we are saved through the firstborn of God,
The new birth.
Exactly. And then he says, you know what? Levites are missing 273 guys. So I'm going to have to get some. We're going to have to make up for that. So all the firstborn is holy. All the firstborn represents Jesus, and it has to be completely the same. But the Levites are lacking 273 people, and so God says, we're going to have to buy them. We're going to have to buy them back. We're going to have to buy them back by giving 5 shekels a head. So interestingly, this word pole, thou shalt even take, so sensitive, okay. Thou shalt even take 5 shekels apiece by the pole. The pole in Hebrew is Golgotha. Pole is a head. Head means skull, and Hebrew, its original word is Golgotha. So he's saying exactly, okay, 5 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, which is also important to understand, it's gonna be 5 per head, which means Golgotha, where Jesus is going to die on the hills of Calvary. Calvary is a Latin version or the Greek version of Golgotha. So It even tells you where he's going to die, where this money is gonna come from, where this redemption money is gonna come from, okay? So according to the shekel of the sanctuary, okay? So the shekels, it can't be any other shekel. It's gotta be the shekel from the sanctuary, which remains always constant, always the same, okay? Whereas there's a variation of shekels out there in the world. It always changes with the times, but the shekel of the sanctuaries always remain the same. God's justice, judgment is always the same. He's always fair and equal. He does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Okay? And so he even calls this money redemption money. He doesn't label it some other name. He doesn't say it's money to make up for whatever. He just says, this is the redemption money. Redemption. Who are you redeeming? What does the word redeem means? Redeem means you find something that was lost by buying it back. And so you have to redeem. When you redeem something or someone, you're getting that person back with a price. And so God is trying to get us back to his house by paying for it with his own blood and using Christ's blood as the payment for our sins, so we can be redeemed to his presence, to his heaven, to himself. This is his whole purpose of existence. He is crying out, I want you guys to be with me, and I'm going to make a way. I'm going to die for you. My redemption money for you, I'm going to do it. So this represents what Jesus did. And so hidden in this little story, this peculiar numbering story are messages of Christ here. Just like Jesus said himself when he was talking to the disciples, the laws of Moses are about me. Yeah. So this is exactly what he was telling his disciples. And so then you add 5 shekels times the missing number of the head, 273, it comes out to be 1,365, 1,365. Isn't that interesting? By the way, I believe that number is a very important number, 1,365, okay? It was calculated here as the shekel, in the unit of a shekel, okay? In the shekels. But I believe this relates to Moedim. This relates to an appointed time. And we will calculate this number next, okay? But before we get to that, look at this, okay? So Moses is collecting the money and then giving it to Aaron and his sons, which represent the high priest, okay? So they actually are the descendants of Levi too. So they belong to the priestly tribe, but they are designated as a high priest. So Moses represents the law, Mosaic law. So he's collecting the money as a legal requirement to pay for the lost people, okay? So it's a legal requirement, and he's giving it to the high priest, who is Jesus himself, and also they represent, in this case, the God the Father. And so there's a legal requirement, and so Moses is the one giving the money to the high priest to represent how it works in reality, because it was a mere symbolism of what was to happen. So the legal payment of Christ's blood is being paid so that we could be redeemed unto the Father. So I think we kind of went over everything, but I'm going to summarize it here, okay? So here, Moses and Aaron instructed to count or number the Levites, who is the priestly tribe, right? So, which comes out to be 22,000. And he says, I am the Lord 3 times in this chapter on these verses 13, 41, and 45. So we didn't read the verse 13, but it's there. One for each member of the Trinity. The firstborns of all the children of Israel come out to be 22,273. So I also wonder, why is it just 1 month old upward? Because in those days, in the old times, a lot of babies died and didn't make it to 1 month old. So if they made it to 1 month old, they're gonna live. So they're kind of, I think it speaks to so that the numbers doesn't fluctuate so much. And also yes, and number 1 also represents, it could mean a year. Remember in Hebrew counting, that they always interchange these units. And so 1 year after Jesus' ministry, after 62 weeks of his ministry, he was crucified, according to the book of Daniel and historical records. And so that also kind of is also symbolic of that. And the redemption money was to be given from Moses to Aaron. We went over that. 5 shekels per head or skull, Golgotha, 1365 shekels. And Moses represents the law. So the law requires payment to be made to the high priest to make up or redeem for the 273 that were lost. So 1365 shekels represent the price Yeshua paid to redeem humanity on the cross. It's a significant number that symbolizes his death, okay? If you think about it, it completely fits, right? All of this passage was to arrive at this number, 1365. This represents his death, okay? The price he paid, the blood. I don't know, maybe his volume of his blood, maybe the fluid he poured out, maybe is exactly comes out to be that. Who knows, right? But I think this has to do with also the Moedim, okay? So let's get to this, okay? The Moedim, time appointed time as told by this number, okay? In Numbers 3. So let's assume, it's a big assumption, but I feel comfortable assuming this because this is not the first time that this happens in the Bible, where weeks are considered days and certain numbers are considered some another unit. And so let's assume that 1365 shekels represent weeks in time, okay? And then let's figure out how many years is that. So if you convert the weeks into years, because there's 1 year, in 1 year, there's 52 weeks. Then it comes out to be 26.25 years. Let's convert the 0.25 years according to the biblical months, okay? So 0.25 year comes out to be 90 days because 1 year is 360 days, not 365 days. 360 days in Hebrew calendar months, according to Book of Genesis chapter 6 through 8. Because in Noah's flood account, you can see the unit, how many days are supposed to be in a month. It's based on lunar solar calendar, the Hebrew calendar. However, if you look at the Noah's flood timeline, you will see that 1 month exactly equals 30 days, okay? So biblical days are 360 days, and maybe someday I'll go over the Enoch calendar with you guys. Enoch calendar accounts for this. It's 360 days with 4-day leap year cycles according to Enoch calendar. But anyways, it's 360 days in 1 year. If you do that, 0.25 year comes out to be 90 days, or exactly, what happened here? Okay, there we go. Exactly 3 months, okay? Okay, then, we got, so 1365 weeks equals 26 years and 3 months, okay? Okay, where is the day? We got the month, we got the year, Where's the day at? Okay, so let's figure this out, okay? So I thought, okay, that's interesting. Let's add the digits together, okay? 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5, and it comes out to be 15. And I was like, that's interesting. What happened on the 15th of something? And we know that Jesus died on the Passover, which is 14th of Nisan, which is the third month in the Gregorian calendar. And he was buried on the 15th, in the very beginning of the 15th of Nisan, he was buried. So this is the date of his burial. Isn't that amazing? His date of crucifixion and burial is hidden in this number, 1365 weeks, because according to this, okay, I'm going to show you later, it may not be this, but I think it is. It's pointing to this according to book of Numbers chapter 3. So according to this, he died on the 26th year, 26 AD, 15th of Nisan. He was buried on that date. You might say, how come you're going to change the Hebrew calendar system with the Gregorian year system? Why are you going back and forth on it? Well, this is because I'm not just trying to fit things in. This is because after studying this for quite some time now, the calendar system, I figured out that our calendars are all messed up. Nobody really knows the accurate timing of events. We kind of have a general idea. It has to do with all these different rules and different calendars and the leap year cycles and all this stuff. And so nobody really has accurate accounting. So what God did in the Bible to help us out is to tell the year according to the king's reigns. So if you read the word, you will see that he would always record, on the year of the king so-and-so's reign, this happened and this happened. Those are clues as to when exactly things occurred. And so God knew that we would be all messed up with our calendars. So he is giving us a simplified Cliff Note version of, okay, I'm going to use the Gregorian calendar, the calendar that you guys are going to be using on my second return, okay? I'm going to stick with that. So this is why I think this has to do with the Gregorian calendar, okay? And the third month, I believe, is a Gregorian calendar month, okay? So it's consistent, right? 26 AD, 15th of the third month, okay? So then it comes out to be 15th of Nisan, right after Passover or the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay, so we got the year, assuming this is correct, assuming I'm figuring this out correctly, which I am not claiming to be, okay? I'm not claiming that this is 100% accurate, okay? I'm just saying, let's look into this a little bit, okay? So then you add 2,000 years to 26 years because according to the Bereshit prophecy, which I went over with you guys, Jesus' second coming will be 2,000 years from his crucifixion. So if you do that, you know he's coming, according to this date, 2026 is the year of his second coming, okay? So then if we know that reference, if you know a particular date, whether it is Christ's birth, crucifixion, any other feast, all of these things, if you have one reference point, then you can figure out all the rest because there's a pattern that God has shown in the Bible. And so if we assume that this is the date of his crucifixion or burial, then we can figure out when his second coming is and when the tribulation is supposed to occur. If you assume that the tribulation is 7 years. The Bible is not 100% clear on that. It could be 300 days, according to Noah. It could be 7 years, according to 7 years with prophecy of Daniel. It could be 14 or 21 years even, according to Jacob's trouble story. So, but I'm gonna go with the most common accepted timeline, which is Daniel's 70th week, with the seven year tribulation period. So if we assume that, if you subtract 7 from 26, comes out to be 2019. So the tribulation, according to this, has already began. Okay, so you may have tons of questions on that one, but I am prepared to answer those. So then let's assume let's calculate this with another method. Okay, another method. Forget about all this now, but let's calculate according to the founding of modern Israel, because that is also a significant event, prophetic event that has occurred in our lifetime. That is a reference point, and it is prophesied that from 70 to 80 years from the founding of Israel is the beginning of tribulation. So if you assume that it was 1948, which was really a temporary government, then it becomes fast forward 70 years, because 70 is the goes according to the Moedim, the Shemitah cycles and the Jubilee cycle. Then it comes out to be 2018, which is very close, but they were really founded in 1949. Okay, so then it becomes 2019, which is consistent with this. Okay, so but I put 80 there because it does talk about in the book of Psalms that a generation could be defined as 70 to 80 years if you're really healthy, and then it says you fly away. It's interesting. You fly away, you get resurrected, you get raptured after this generation is done. So if you do 80 to this, it becomes 2028, but it can't be past 2026 according to this, right? So it's the latest tribulation could be is 2025 if you believe in Noah's 300-day tribulation prophecy. Okay, so then the range of this then becomes anywhere from 2018 to 2025.